Okay, so this is our fifth podcast, and we have a very, very special guest today who is an absolute softball stud. And we are lucky to have her two-time All-American softball player for UCLA. And I'm going to let Tommy go ahead and take over your introduction. It better be a good introduction, Tommy.
Yay,
You better
BAnn!
you
Woo!
better not cheat her on this, bro.
So today we have BAnn Burns Jacobs. And let's talk about your resume a little bit. So you played at UCLA from 94 to 97. Played in Italy in the summer of 97, correct? And
Yes.
then played for the Tampa Bay Fire Six professional organization, was in the late 90s. Also inducted into the Arizona Hall of Fame in 2012.
Nice.
And then recently inducted to the UCLA Hall of Fame in 2023. BAnn, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm telling you guys, this is a freaking stud right here.
Amazing athlete. Amazing.
So I have a quick question now that you said Italy. What part of Italy?
The northeast corner, so east of Venice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you did visit Venice, though, I'm sure, right?
Yes. Yes.
Isn't that like no place on earth? Like,
Yeah, it was a very great, it was a great experience.
Yeah, my wife and I went in 2019 and I didn't want to leave. Thought it was amazing, but I couldn't live there. Anyway, all right. So T,
You're first, right?
I'll
you're
go first. I'll take
Yeah,
pole
you're
position.
supposed to be first.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I don't
Age before beauty, my brother. Age
That's
before
right.
beauty.
Dang right. Absolutely. Age before beauty. Don't you ever forget that, dude. You know how many years apart we are, B?
I don't.
Like 20.
No,
Yeah.
I think we're 6.5 years apart.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 5, but I had no idea.
It's funny, one of his good friends we had on the other night thought Tommy was older than me. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Hell's yes. So anyway, all right. So my first question right off the bat, it has to do with travel ball. And this is something that I think a lot of parents, that they're kind of coming into their freshman year, sophomore year, and they're trying to find a club. They need some advice. So I'm gonna look to you for this one. So when selecting a travel ball team, what key factors should families consider to ensure that it aligns with their players' goals and development, meaning a team?
Right. I feel like you want to have a team that is competing in different tournaments, and they are doing some traveling. But you want to get on a team where your daughter is going to be able to play. So it doesn't matter if it's the top team in the United States. If she's not going to be able to get on the field, then it's pointless to me. So they want to, coaches will go. We've had different players on different teams that we've recommended to coaches, and they'll go to a game and they said, well, so-and-so wasn't even playing, so I didn't even get to see her. So that's a big deal where your daughter's going to be able to be on a team where she's going to be able to play, period. So
yeah, and I will add to that nothing's more frustrating for me as a dad, as a college athlete, college recruiter, to see that these kids are so drawn to go into this team that kicks everybody's butt, but yet it's only the 9 that play game in, game out.
Well, how about this? I mean, yeah, let's add this to that mix. How about you're at a showcase tournament where nothing matters what you win, and they're not playing seniors that aren't committed, but they're playing kids that are already committed or younger. I'm just like, that blows my mind when
that's
isn't really to win.
And that's coaching. And for whatever reason, they still think they're getting these trophies from these college showcases, and it doesn't freaking matter. And that's why I really, really want to get this out, that who cares about wins and losses? I sure don't remember wins and losses when I played summer ball at all.
No.
I remember having some fun. I remember relationships, and I remember developing my skill set, right? And these kids, they're going to take that into that next level, which is college. And so, even though these dads or moms or coaches or whatever care so much about winning, it really doesn't matter.
right.
The batting average doesn't matter right now. I mean, Tommy and I get to the field, they can be batting 50 cents and they go 4 for 4. And that's all we care about, right? We don't care. We just
Right.
don't care. And
How about just their mechanics alone? That's something we know we can work with. or their
Yeah,
or their
100%.
aggressiveness. Those things matter.
They
Right.
absolutely matter. So
Okay.
yeah. Thank you, B. That's my one out the door. Tommy, you're up. Number one for you,
Bam! All
brother.
right. We're gonna have some fun with this one.
Uh-oh,
So
here we go.
what's the biggest difference you see today in college softball from when you played?
Whoa.
Well, there's probably more than one. So I was trying to think of
Sure.
how to
No,
Get
you
it
can
out.
give it to us. Give it to us.
Well, obviously the transfer portal and all of that is way different than what
Yeah.
didn't exist. Now, there were girls that did transfer, but it just wasn't so easy to do. So, and I know everyone has their different reasons for doing it, and not to talk down on anyone, but I just think it's so much easier to just jump ship. And I think if people, that's always in the back of people's mind. And I've already heard it with kids going to college. Well, if you don't like it, you can always transfer. And I don't know. I feel like I guess I'm kind of old school. I don't feel like that should be how you're feeling going into it. So, I mean, that's a big difference. And then roster size, I was looking at some of my old pictures, and we had like 14 on the team. So
Crazy.
it was
crazy.
It's all about this. That's why.
Yeah, it's just it's much different there. So trying to think of what else, but yeah, I mean the transfer stuff is what's huge now. I mean, across all the sports. So
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
you
know,
played.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
No, Tommy, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you played with some amazing athletes. I mean, amazing athletes. And, you know, outside of a few programs right now in the country, D1 wise, it's really hard to compare to what it was back then to now, right? But I mean, do you think it's much different? I mean, you're right about people are just trying to go buy a ring now. They're just trying to go somewhere where they know they're going to win regardless if they play. But back in your day, everybody was competing every day to play because they wanted to play.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
I mean, another thing is there's just so many more opportunities for the girls. Softball's grown so much, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, back when I played, it was a few teams that were super good. And like for being at UCLA, we were expected, even now, I mean, even after everything's evolved, it's a different expectation being there to win. So it doesn't matter who's there. And that's kind of the pressure where if you decide you want to go to UCLA, that it's there on your shoulders. And that's just comes with the territory, and we are expected to win. We went to the World Series every year, and that was like, I don't want to say no big deal, but that's just what we did. And there weren't tons of teams. Now there's just, I mean, anybody could win in the end. There's so many more girls out there. So back when I played, the best players were from California, and period. That's it. They were, that's where it was at. And so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, you know, as we're talking about, you know, at that level and, you know, these kids and jumping ship and this, and, you know, there's many reasons, right? Back in my day, we didn't do that. You know, we went to school as our freshman year, we finished our senior year. That's just where it was. And we didn't have, like you said, these options. And then you got social media now, and you got all these different things that, you know, from a business standpoint on the marketing side, I love that they can market themselves, right? But there's, like you said, there's a plethora of athletes out there trying to play on that team. And you know, and I know that these coaches are going to heavily recruit. Why? Because they're told they have to. I mean, even the NCAA rosters are increasing, you know? But it's a business, and these guys have to have the enrollment. These colleges have to have enrollment. So what does that mean for a player? It means that now you're 4 or 5 deep at a position. And so when you get there in the fall on your first day, and you're like, holy Jesus, I'm behind a freshman All-American. And then I have 3 Gatorade Players of the Year that I'm against, right? What do I do?
No joke. Yeah, it's no joke.
I mean, a lot of kids redshirt. There's a million different things, or they bounce in the portal. But that damn portal is so big, it almost does them a disservice. Right. And it hurts my soul to see these kids, and then they don't want to, you know, they jump in the portal and they don't want to go to a D2, 3 or NAIA because I'm a D1 athlete, right?
Yeah, and that's
And
what sucks. Is there's 3,500 kids sitting in there, and you're offering an opportunity to play, and they're like, I'd rather sit and watch. That to me, I think back in my day, I'm taking playing any day over that.
Well, B, you already said it. You already said it. Like, you need to get on the field, right?
Mhm.
The same thing in college. You didn't work your butt off for all those years to sit on the bench for 4 years.
Right.
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 I mean,
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't have wanted to. There's no way in hell I would have.
Oh.
You know, I'm gonna work out until my hands are bleeding. I'm taking that spot where I'm gonna play, right? So yeah, that's very good. Okay. P, anything else?
No, good. Go ahead and go to the next one. That's awesome. Good stuff.
Okay, so this is number 2 for me. With only a small percentage of players reaching the D1 level, which we know it's like 1%. What do you think many travel ball teams continue? Why do you think all these travel ball teams continue to market we're a D1 program? We have a farm for all D1 athletes, and that's
we know a lot about that, huh, BAnn?
Yeah, BAnn, I see you smiling.
Well, just in Arizona, it's a big deal. Like
it is a big deal. It's a big deal in Texas. It's a big deal in California.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Our hot states that play year round. It's a big deal, right? So I cannot wait to hear this, but this is where you can really be transparent with these parents and athletes, and the stage is yours.
I don't know. It's hard to hear when I hear some coaches saying, oh, no, I don't talk to you because you're not D1 or whatever. There's just again, there are way more opportunities than when I played for, all across the country, but there's way more girls playing.
Yeah.
And there's not enough spots, and it's not the D1 isn't for everybody. So, and I think now back, when my daughter went to college, I thought, should we have been, like, do you encourage someone to try to go for D1 and you're fighting and you're going through the craziness, or do you go and say, pick something where you're going to actually be able to, and not saying they're not going to enjoy their time at a D1, but you're going to, have fun. It's not going to be your just life. I played at that point and it was my life then, and now I know it's worse. And do you have that stress? And there's so much of the mental, health stuff going on too. And because of all of it entails. So I don't know. I just don't know if programs want to just say, oh, because we have all the D1 and it makes them look better. But the big thing is for the kids to do what's best for them. And a lot of kids aren't being in that atmosphere isn't what's best for them. So I think coaches aren't going to their players and finding out, do you really want to, be far away from home, or do you want to be at a big program? Do you want to, play and be able to go to nursing school and do different things? Like, I think they just see the D1 and that's the top and that's the best. Our program will be the best of as many kids we can get there, whether they're playing or not, or they quit after a year or whatever. But I think too, the other thing is the only thing that kids see, or really anybody, is Division I stuff online, on the TV. So they don't know any difference. And all of our kids, when I've asked different kids who I know it's, different programs aren't what's going to be right for them, all they have is like a list of D1 schools. And so it's just like, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just someone trying to feel like a program's better than another one, and that's why they keep pushing it.
Yeah. I know that on the recruiting side, it's sad because, they may be at that level, but that coach that went and talked to them, they could just be filling their roster spots. You know what I mean? They may be 5 deep. They're going to redshirt them. They're, don't have their best interest in mind.
Right.
And my son was in the same boat. He went to University of New Mexico behind a freshman All-American. There were 6 catchers. They cut 2, and they redshirted him. Right? He's a freshman, young freshman, and he's like, Dad, this was awesome experience, but I want to play. I worked my ass off forever to be on that field, and he's behind a freshman All-American. He didn't have no problem competing, but he wanted it. He wanted to use it's, reality is reality, right? That guy's got the spot next year. He's
Right.
freshman American. So he's like that. And then he left and he had a great career and he broke records and all that stuff. And that's what Tommy and I are really about is, that's great. If you can be there and you're that top 1% and you can get in there and start and play, freaking do it, man. I mean, what a hell of an experience, right? And it happens. It happens all the time. However, if you're not that top 1%, go break records somewhere. Divisions don't matter, right? It's your college experience that matters. And then that getting that degree, that really matters because you know that after that 4 years, as I was supposed to say in softball, there's not a lot.
Right.
So, even in baseball, it's still a small percentage. There's nothing left. Get your degree and go be a professional in your field, right? And that's really what it's about. So anyway.
To add to that, I know BAnn knows this as well, but as a college coach, I've had programs literally tell me, "Oh, who are you? Oh, they're not interested. They're not interested in your level." And I laugh at them like, do the parents know that you're telling me no? Do they know that that they don't want the option? I mean, it blows me away that these travel ball coaches have that much control and that are saying those things. Because literally, when I'm told that as a coach, I will never recruit from that program again. I will never talk to that coach again. I'll never bother. I don't care. It just doesn't. I'm not going to waste my time. Why would I want to waste my time? So again, it's just sad that happens today still. So that's, to me, is a big deal that we just had that conversation. Big deal.
Very sad. Damn it.
It is.
Yeah. And I don't know for the different divisions, and I'm sure they're out there with, if they have all the different, I don't know. I guess, for instance, if there's an organization that has an organizational workout, are they having it just some with just D2 or just D3, like different ones to have an option? Probably not.
Oh.
But the kids don't know. And I think, it's, again, I remember when my oldest was getting recruited, and it was in her time, kids were committing in 8th grade. And if you didn't do it in 8th grade, people thought you were nothing, and, oh, you didn't commit and all this. I remember we encouraged the girls, you got to go, because from our experience and talking to different coaches, find the schools you're interested in and get to their camps. That's the easiest way to get right in front of them. But a lot of people still don't listen to us, and
it's crazy.
And get in front of them. So our kids, a handful of them went to an ASU camp, just get out there. And this was like 8th grade. Well, they got there and they felt, oh, I'm not as good as these people. So then they were like done with thinking where they could possibly go. And some have still gone, some from her team had gone to NAIA or D2, D3, and, most of them have stopped playing. So, because maybe they weren't starting, or, just something didn't go right, and then they're done, which is like heartbreaking. So there's so many opportunities and things in life like that. That's just life stuff, to be on teams where you're not going to play, you're not going to get your way. And that's how life is. So
100%.
Other people aren't.
When you said that, it brings me to a story of a baseball, this kid that I coached, young gentleman, baseball. He coached me in summer baseball, and he was a stud, man. And he went to JUCO, but he was behind like a D1 signee, and he was a freshman. This guy was a sophomore. He was so damn good. He still got drafted, and he was sitting on the bench. The Angels drafted him in like 28th round or something like that, and he was on the bench. He didn't play much. Talent is talent. They're gonna find you, right? They're gonna find you.
Oh yeah.
And then he ended up going to ASU after that, and then got drafted with the Angels again, and then went all the way through the system. So there's opportunity out there, right? I mean, it's not D1 and bust at all, because again, there's so many things that there's so many variables. Could be roster spots. They could be heavy seniors, and so now they're really recruiting hard on the freshies and in junior college transfers over. There's so much that goes into it, and their degrees. If it's not your degree, then why are you even having a conversation?
Right.
It's not worth it. But
yeah, you're taking on a degree for 4 years that you never use.
Yeah.
I mean, how wasteful is that?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. All right, T.
All right, next question, BAnn, for you. What would you tell pitchers today, getting ready to compete at the next level? Because today's just a different beast in general.
Right.
Pitching obviously is tough. So you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I feel like pitchers, they need to be open-minded. They need to know that they're to be successful at any school they go to. It should be a staff. Nowadays, before, like when I played, we had 2 pitchers basically. I pitched one game and the other girl pitched the other game. It was a doubleheader, and that's just how it went. And now the really successful programs have a staff. So not saying pitchers are selfish or whatever, but it's definitely, they need to be open-minded and be prepared that the coaches could use them for a few innings. And because now there's just more, there's film, we watched film when I played, but we watched it on like the VHS tape and rewind, and we had
what's that?
Yeah, we had the TV with whatever on the TV on wheels, and watched that, and that was it. Now they have every single time the person is up to bat and all this,
At night, during the day.
technical, yeah,
And out, yep. What pitches they hit well, yep, everything.
yeah. So I think it's the pitchers mentally, like the mental thing is huge, which is always big for any position, but pitching, it's they have to be open-minded to doing different things and being on a staff instead of it just being them. So
BAnn, if I can ask another question on top of that,
Uh-huh.
what would you, and I know that the days have changed a little bit, but I'm pretty sure you're going to probably stay true to this, but what do you think is important for a pitcher to have an arsenal of 10 different pitches or whatever, or versus 3 that you can control? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? What do you think is more important?
Definitely the pitches, the lower amount of pitches. If somebody doesn't have 10 pitches that work, so and that says different. Just a girl came to me for a lesson, and she's working on her fastball and her changeup, and then she said, well, these other girls said they have all these other pitches, and I said, well, I can guarantee that all those pitches probably look the same. They're not, because they're young, they're not somebody that's getting ready to go off to college and they have better pitches, but that's just something, I don't know, to show off, but the pitches, them spinning the ball is more important than the speed, and it's better to have less that are really good than a bunch that are just not great.
Out of control, yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Awesome.
So,
yeah, that's crazy. So what happens if you're a mom and dad and you're an athlete and you've been recruited by 3 different schools, and all 3 schools say, yeah, they don't have a pitching coach, but yet you're a PO. Is that a good move or not?
it doesn't sound like it. So, I mean, if you want to, if
It
you
happens all the
better,
time, though.
if
It
you want
happens.
to get better when you go there, right?
Yeah.
That's my whole point to it, because it happens all the time. Like, I can't tell you how many, as a catching guy myself, how many times these kids go to college and they go to catch, and they don't have anybody to coach them. They're not going to get better.
Right.
Right. And them coming back in the fall for Thanksgiving or even at Christmas to try to get some work in, it's not through the season.
Right.
Right. Which really sucks. But again, that you got to think of everything you're looking at a college.
Well, and I kind of tell the kids with college and even the high school, because high school's nutty too, with people moving around, at least here in Arizona. But
There's no kidding.
They need to find a school that they like outside of softball, period, that they're gonna get they like for their degree. If they ever get hurt and never play again, they'll be happy there. But that's not, I mean, I loved my time at UCLA, and I couldn't have imagined going somewhere else, and it wasn't perfect. So there was many ups and downs, but I didn't even think twice about, oh, I should just go to a different school.
Yeah.
So, I just feel like you really need to pick the school and look at it outside of softball, and then have it all come together, because you could, be there and be the number one pitcher. And then here the next year they transfer in the other number one in the country. And then you're on the back seat, or, your coach leaves. So
Happens all the time.
there's just it could change every single year. So,
yes.
and I couldn't imagine transferring every year to somewhere else just because it wasn't exactly what you're wanting.
Yeah, coaches think you're a problem after that,
Right.
why are they jumping like that so much? But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's very important. Okay, so all right, so I got number 3 for you. Okay, what qualities and characteristics must a high school player possess to realistically play at the D1 college softball level? I mean, what's in their bag of tricks? What do they have to do to play at that level?
I say the biggest thing is be versatile. So there's a lot of kids that we see come and they're like, oh, I only play first, or I'm a pitcher only, and they're young and they're like, really? Like, you're too young to be a pitcher only. But kids that, our kids on our team, we have them practicing basically everywhere, infield and outfield, whether they're not super athletic, they're out there doing this stuff with the rest of the team. And players that want to just put themselves at, I'm just a third baseman or whatever. Well, wait till you get to college, because if you're good enough and you want to play, you're going to play wherever they put you. So I think being versatile, that's a big deal. And again, the mental part, I get that's probably bigger than the athletic part, right? That's what they say.
Sure.
So,
Well, and you never want to tell a coach, hey, can you play third? Well, no, no, you want to say, hell yeah, I can play third.
right.
Gotta get out there. Go. You're up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so funny because when you're talking about that, do you know Logan Porter?
Mm-mm.
Okay. He's a Valley Vista high school grad. He was a shortstop. I coached him like in Babe Ruth when he was younger, 12, 13. And he played there with my son. Actually, my youngest son played after him, but he was a shortstop forever. Right. He's a stud, athlete, right? Mm-hmm. But he transferred to catcher, and he's even more of a stud. And then he went on to Dixie State and had a crazy year, but never got drafted. Mm-hmm. And then because he caught bullpens for the Royals, they actually signed him as a free agent because they had an open spot. Then he actually went down hurt, and then all of a sudden just start climbing the ladder. Now he's been traded to San Fran with the Mets. He's still playing, but he didn't go there to be a shortstop.
Right.
He transitioned to other positions because of that opportunity. Right. And that's why I say play everywhere. Yeah. I mean, don't say I'm only a right fielder.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or I'm a left-handed catcher, and so I can't play center field, first base, or pitch.
Yeah. I've seen them all.
You're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I mean, I feel like just because I know it more than others, is like UCLA, there's multiple girls I think that have been made into a catcher that were not catchers. And you think how could they not have a catcher? But for whatever reason, other people that were athletic were moved to that position and they wanted to play. So they said, sure, I'll do it. So
yeah, that's a great point. Wow. And it happens all the time. And thank God that they did, right? Because your whole goal is to get on the field. Right. So yeah, great point. And then can you talk about the work that you put in to get recruited to go to UCLA? I mean, were you using pitching coaches? Were you out there throwing every day? What were you doing to get to that level?
So pitching was by accident. For me, it wasn't my first position.
Really?
I was a first baseman. I was a first baseman, and I was super tall, obviously, and I was really tall, but I wanted to pitch, and like everybody, when they're younger, they want to pitch. And finally my coach put me in to pitch, and I wasn't a pitcher, and I did really bad. So I think I don't even know if I got an out, but they had to take me out. I was crying. And so then after the game, my dad said, well, at least, you'll never be a pitcher. And so,
oh my God, yeah. So funny. That's so funny.
So then the next year it was like the rec team. So the next year we had like a new team, and we had no pitching. So I was the only one that had kind of fooled around with it. So I just decided to be a pitcher, and me and my dad, we made the agreement that if we're going to do this, we're going to, you know, work and do it. So our family's very scheduled. So every Monday through Friday, my dad would get home from work, we'd go to the park and we'd pitch, and he'd hit grounders and fly balls, and my sister and I would go out there, and nobody have I come across nowadays that does that. That I know a lot of people my age did, and I know times are different because clubs all year round, but so many people don't put that much work into it anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can tell you this, man, this is such a big deal for me. Even at the collegiate level, I tell athletes this. I'm like, listen, if we have practice for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it's not enough time for you to get in and change something or to perfect something. You're going to have to put more time in somewhere. And a lot of times, this is what we tell them, you know, or to offer more opportunities. They take whatever they want or they don't do it. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it all comes down to hard work. Are you willing to put in more time to get better at something? It's just the way it is. And it's sad that we've come from the era where everybody just went out there and they worked until they got it. Now it's, I'm going to do a little bit of work and you're going to play me. And it's just such a different world today. And I kind of go, wow, you know? So,
yeah. And I'll tell you too, I'm the same way. I played football, I wrestled, played baseball, and I just did those sports to, you know, to be in athletic shape. Right. But I swear to God, I mean, after, you can ask Tommy, after football, after wrestling practice, where I'm dead ass tired, I'm at the cage for 2 or 3 hours hitting and trying to perfect and master, you know, hitting. And that, again, that's our era, right? I didn't know any different though. That's the work ethic that our family had. And I wish I seen that now. And there are kids that do that, right? But the majority don't, right? They're thinking they're just going to get to the field and a couple ground balls they had last week, they're ready to play. Right. And by the way, why aren't college coaches looking at me? Well, you're not putting the work in, and we can see that. We can see that you're not putting in the work. We can see that you don't have arm strength because you're not throwing enough. Right. I mean, when Tommy and I get to the field, again, we have a different recruiting style than any other college coach that we've ever seen out there. We're watching kids hit off a tee, right? We're watching them play catch, just kind of off to the right, to the left. We're watching them take ground balls between innings and throw on the base. I mean, the softball. Again, Tommy recruited somebody that just threw piss missiles across the diamond. And we weren't looking at her, but she stopped us in our track, or she stopped me in my tracks. And then I grabbed him by his bald head and said, "Hey, bro, check this out." Right. And then now she's going to his school this fall. But it's just those little things that, you know, that you want to possess and you want to show off in front of these college. You never know who's watching you.
Right.
Ever. I mean, look at you and John with your guys' background stuff, right? And the connections that you guys have. Right. And if you have a kid that's out there studying out, you're gonna actually be a resource for them, because those are the kind of people that you are. But those kids don't know that. Right. You never know who you're playing in front of, ever.
Never. Right. And I can tell you right now, you know, specifically that's happened where I've talked to John, where I've talked to BAnn, and they're like, "Hey, this kid's good," and nobody's talking to her. I'm like, wow, crazy to me. And it happens. But again, softball is a very small community. People talk, and I don't think athletes realize when you're out there just practicing or whatever you're doing, somebody's watching you do something. And it matters what you do. It matters how you talk to people. It matters how you interact with your teammates. It matters how you talk to your parents after a game. Those things truly matter, because I'm buying that. I'm buying that character. You know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I also think that for me, like I had a pitching coach, but it was like once a month. And I think now people are so into going, like, I don't really feel like you have to go to pitching every week. And I know some coaches probably schedule it like that, or you have to come, and I don't feel like that's necessary. You need to, for me, I don't want someone to come back unless they've done work in between, because you can tell. And then, and I'm not, it's not my job. I'm not trying to, you know, just take money from them, but that's just a waste of money if they're coming, not doing anything in between. So for me, my pitching coach, it was like maybe I don't even think it was twice a month. It was like once a month, and you went there, and then I just worked in between, and then you're excited to go back to see. He would, put you on the gun to see if you, what your speed was. But I think that it's just, there's so much with, different people. Like I'm going to, a fielding coach, I'm going to a hitting coach, and so all the parents are talking. So then you feel like, well, I need to get my kid to that. And it's like a vicious cycle. So it's just, it's sad because in so many kids just stop playing. They don't even go anywhere for college, and they've done so much, and they've been on these super dream teams, and they just stop.
Burn out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I think every athlete's different, right? I do agree with you that, sometimes too much is too much, right? And, they have to work on the things that you work with them on for that month, right? Almost too much is too much, right? But one thing that I do, and a couple of Tommy's athletes, they actually will send me videos of a game. I may have worked with them last month, and they're like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Or they're hitting off of a tee, and I'm like, "That looks great," I would just make a small little change here, there, whatever. But other than that, keep working, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't need to see you every single day. I'm just gonna say this, keep repeating the same stuff over and over again. I need you to go out there and fix that. And I'm okay with parents videoing it and listening, and then having them go out and work on that for the next, 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is I'm going to see them again, right? To get better.
Right.
At the end of the day, and what you're trying to say here is, I believe, is that these kids need to do it on their own. They need to take what you just taught them, and they need to be serious about it, and they need to work on it, and they need to perfect and master that.
Right.
Until they got it down. And that's it, right?
Yeah, big deal. Such a big deal.
All right, T, you're up, buddy.
Oh, all right.
You lose count? You want me to help you?
Well, no.
What comes after 2?
What was it like competing with the top athletes in the country when you played at UCLA? And I know a lot of the players that you played with, so I'm kind of excited to hear what this is going to be like.
Yeah, it was exciting. So I don't know, it was hard. There were super good teams back then, and then there was some teams that weren't that good, that just because the softball was in a few areas strong. So no, it was great. It was great. For us, I think the one thing I didn't like is pitching live against my own team, which I think most people don't like to do that. It's not very, it's not very
I don't think some of the hitters want to hit off you either, especially if you got thunder and lightning coming at you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And right. But no, it was exciting. And we always had, good competitive practices, and, just a lot of the girls that even we played against, because Arizona was our rival, and there were girls that we grew up playing against because it was such a small kind of community. And for us in Arizona, we always went to California for tournaments, and then every year it was just so different. There was one national championship, the ASA Nationals, and you had to go through regionals to qualify and go through your state, your region, and then to the national championship. So from 12U and up, which they didn't have 10U, we weren't trying to get those little kids. So we were letting them play rec ball then. Yeah. But from 12U up, every year we're at the national championship. So you ended up seeing the same people and becoming friends with girls from other teams, because you just always saw them around. So it was fun. And it's fun to see. There's a lot of them still doing softball stuff now that I'll see different, things like this, like podcasts, and just it's pretty cool.
So nice. How many into it? How many would you say out of your class are still in the game today? That you're aware of?
That from UCLA or just in general? Well, nobody, I think, from UCLA. I'm trying to think. There's so many that I played with that still coach club ball. But other ones, that UCLA, there's some that coach club, but otherwise there's ones from other schools that are coaching. Stacy Newman, she was my catcher. one of my catchers, and she's at San Diego State, obviously, and Missy Panzer, as we called her, Melissa Lombardi. She was my high school catcher and at Oregon. And so that's fun. There's like a different people, you know, all over that you have connections with, but it's fun to see them. And it seems weird to see them still in the game because it's
Yes, I bet.
long. So, you know, and obviously both, I mean, Kelly has been at UCLA still since I left. So, and it's just like, it's like a school teacher. I think their lives, they get some kids and then they turn them over, and they never age, I feel like.
Yeah. So basically, BAnn, what you're telling me right now for everybody that could be watching this is you have a ton of connections, and you're a travel ball coach as well.
Right.
Wow. I mean, if people aren't knocking down your door, that is an absolute travesty, I think. I mean, yeah, that's just, I mean, again, if you already know this about me, and I told this to you and John several times. When people ask me, you know, who to go see in Arizona, I only say one name. That's it. You and John, that's all I talk about.
But there's two people. Why do you say one name? There's John and BAnn.
I go off their last
name.
You
got your calculate, man. Your arithmetic's always
using that last name.
This is what I do.
I understood.
This is my God dang this guy.
Trying to make it sweet.
I mean, we're just kidding around, but it's so true. I mean, think about this. There's a lot of travel ball coaches out there that, you know, think that they're the poo, and they haven't experienced not even a 16th of what you guys have experienced, or don't have the connections that you have. And if it's me and it's my family, why would I go anywhere else? I'm going to live and breathe what you guys say.
Crazy. You
know, what you teach. And I'm not going to get second guessed by somebody that, you know, that played some high school ball but didn't even play. You know, or whatever that looked like. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm gonna go to the professionals, and I'm gonna get the help that I need to get better. Because at the end of the day, if we're not developing and we're not getting better, you're on the wrong team.
Right.
Well, I know that
I don't care who it is.
I mean, I can tell you just from experience being in both worlds is nowadays I see a lot of coaches that are collecting players. They're not making them better. They're just literally collecting players that are good, and then they just put them together and they play, but they never make them better. And that's, I think, is the saddest part about today's travel ball of what it's become. And I know, you know,
Tommy, but why though? Why aren't they making them better? Well, they don't know, or they don't have the background.
Well, again, they don't have the background.
They're not instructors. You guys are not just coaches.
Yeah.
You guys are instructors, right?
Yeah.
And you're actually helping them on and off the field, not just on the field. And that makes a gigantic difference with what's currently out there right now. Because Tommy's right. There's a lot of teams out there that are just playing. They're going to take the best players and they're going to win. It doesn't benefit these guys, right? Because if they're not getting better every single time they're out there and learning from their mistakes and being held accountable and all these things, it's going to be tough for them to get into a college program and compete and beat somebody out of the spot. Right. And that's reality. Yeah. So I'm going to let you guys do a selfless plug later on for the business or for the teams, because I don't know how many you have now, but I definitely want to talk about it at the end here. So Tommy, anything else on this?
No, I mean, again, like I said, I just, sometimes it's beyond me as a college coach that I'm looking for coaches that are training kids and the understanding of what it takes to compete at the next level, at any level for that matter, versus collecting a bunch of studs and saying, hey, we're out here winning every tournament. We're the best team. They're not being pushed. They don't know what it's going to be like playing with 5+ in each position, where everybody was the top player on their team on one team. It's just, I mean, high school and travel aren't usually that way. But I'm telling you right now, at the collegiate level, it's a big step up. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it's JUCO all the way to D1. It doesn't matter. It's a step up.
Yeah, it's like this. You're thinking about this. You're a freshman in high school playing with a senior in high school, right? On the college aspect. You know, you're a freshman playing against some 22-year-olds. They're going to kick your ass, right? And they're not going to lose their spot. So you got to develop.
Or after COVID, they're 24, 25. I mean, I mean, you're playing against that.
Right.
Well, Casey was 25. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he was an old man. Shit. I mean, but He got everything out of it, got his master's degree, and that's what a lot of these kids are getting right now, you know, which really good and bad. But okay, so question number 4 for me. Okay, number 4. What unique strengths or attributes do you and John bring to your teams that set your teams apart from the other summer programs?
I feel like for our teams, both of our teams that we created with our oldest daughter and then our second daughter, as our teams went like 10U from rec, we had like a rec ball team to club, so we weren't good, and we developed the girls. It's just plain like tons of repetition, the positive reinforcement. I mean, there was girls, like one girl I think on our daughter Mia's team, who she was the best player on the team from when we were younger, and she's the only person that could catch a pop up, and everyone else would miss, and you're just like, oh gosh, like what are we doing? So, and it was so rewarding to see all these girls from both of our teams continue to get better. One girl who played on Taylor's team, she balls would be hit to right field and she would stop them all, not with her glove, like it would hit her, it would something, and and she couldn't throw, and just I mean, turned into an amazing player. And just that, I mean, that for me, you know, and I can't speak for other coaches, but we really worked hard on developing kids. But then when other teams would play us and they'd say, oh, you guys have really gotten better. And you'd get those comments, you know, every, you know, so often, or, you know, one team that was our, I don't say rival, they beat us all the time and we finally beat them. And then the dad said, oh, I knew you'd beat us one day. And I'm like, really? So, but that was our big thing is developing the kids. So we could have had tryouts every single year to try to get better players, but we were really wanted to stay with the group we had and develop them and move them along together. So, and I don't think many other teams do that.
Well, and and like I said, you guys aren't just you're not coaches, right? You guys are instructors, right? In your profession. And you know, I was the same way. Tommy's the same way. You know, I'd rather take a bunch of athletes that, you know, underdeveloped versus somebody that's going to come in that's an absolute stud that I can't keep working with because they think they already know it all, or they think they're already at that level. And Tommy and I could pitch around them, or pitch and take the bat out of their hands, you know, like they're going to do in college, and take these kids and literally develop them the right way. So they have that work ethic, they have that routine. That's exactly what they're going to get, you know, at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all the way up, because they're going to get that in college, right? And so you guys aren't just prepping them for their summer ball or getting them young and then kind of getting them better. You're actually prepping them for college and beyond. And that, I think, is the big difference with, you know, your husband John and you, and what you guys bring to the table. And why I asked you that question, because there is huge separation between what you guys do and what other teams do. I mean, Tommy and I see it every single day. We see it in California, we see it in Las Vegas, we see it in Washington, we see it in Arizona, we see it everywhere. South Dakota, we see it everywhere. And you know, if I'm a young player, parent, and I see this podcast, I'm gonna search you, I'm gonna find your number, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to get in front of you guys to see if I can be a part of your organization or your program or even instruction or whatever, because people don't realize that you guys aren't just these great athletes, but you're good human beings too. And you care about these kids like they're your kids. And I've seen it, you know, every time I'm out there with you guys. You know, the parents love the hell out of you guys. The kids love the hell out of you guys, because you're giving it right back to them. And they deserve that, right? And so I don't know why anybody would ever leave your team. If they did, I don't know why. Because I mean, John is probably one of the selfless human beings I've ever met in my life when it comes to, hey, come into my house, come hit. I won't be
for
there
free.
For free. Go through the gate. You know, use my facility. It's mine, is yours. I want you to get better. And not a lot of people are like that nowadays, right? You both, you know, bring that to the table, and there's so much there that I couldn't talk enough about you two. And Tommy and I talk about it all the time. So
yeah,
I mean, that's the truth. I know you're probably like, Jesus, will you shut up already? We're not that, but you guys are. You really are.
Thank you.
And I appreciate what you guys do for everybody, and I hope everybody else that's ran across your path or is on your team right now or in the future see exactly what Tommy and I get to see, you know, all the time. So, and I don't know you guys as well as Tommy does, obviously, but we live right across the street from each other.
Yeah. You never invited us over, so.
I cannot tell you how many times I've invited you over, but John's like, you gotta talk. And she does a calendar. I'm like, hey, listen, dude.
That's true though. She does do all that stuff. That's absolutely true.
That not sound like John?
Yeah, John. Yeah, he's I do the calendar. Let's just say.
Yeah, very structured when it comes to like the timing of lining it up.
I have to. I don't know how I could manage without it. So
yeah, me either.
Yeah.
Well, I can't let an email go. I go crazy, and John doesn't even look at his emails.
He doesn't. People will message me because I just tell him don't message him, just message me. I mean, because then he has his phone gives me a heart attack because it has like 35 text messages unread or whatever it is, and I like delete mine, and he doesn't understand that, so it's definitely different. But
so yeah,
no, I think yeah, we are. I mean, John's like has a connection with the kids like nobody, and with any of the kids when I mean, that's his gift with teaching and everything. And but it's funny because when we first started the club ball, one of our friends, he said, you know, I'm gonna tell you now, you're gonna have somebody on your team leave that you'd never thought would leave, and it happened. And so that's my advice when I give to other people, because they think that they've outgrown our team and gone on, and then I don't know if a lot of those situations have worked great. The kids still come and ask for advice or ask for help with getting to college, which I don't know what other coaches would do it, but in a heartbeat, we would do it. We'll make calls, you know, and there's kids that we've gotten to different colleges that didn't play on our team. So it's more about us helping the kids and not just any kids on our team. It's just them in general.
That's what we're talking about. I mean, that's what this whole thing was about, is because I've been a very big advocate for you and John, especially when I post things, being so thankful for at least, how about just inviting me out to meet players? How about the high school games? You know, being a part, that to me is such a big deal, because for college coaches and travel ball coaches, networking is a big deal. It's a big deal. So the fact that you guys are doing that, plus you got 3 kids and they're all in sports. I mean, you have a D1 athlete. I mean, you guys are busy as heck. And what are you doing? You're putting all this time into everybody else.
Yeah, you're still giving everybody else your time.
Yeah, which
people, they don't know you guys.
Nobody understands that. What that takes to do. It's just hard.
And your kids are friggin' stud athletes.
All of them. They're all studs.
Hey, is Mia taller now than Taylor?
Yeah.
Holy Jesus.
I just saw some pictures. I was like, Mia, oh my Lord. She's going to start talking some trash to Taylor at some point. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. She's got a little more fire than Taylor too. So I can see that coming down the road.
She's those are 2 opposites for sure. Those 2. Yeah. It'll be fun to, you know, see her continue to grow. Both of them. I mean, Taylor's got a long ways left of her college time, and, you know, Mia's just starting. So, but yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy. I have a question. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you guys think could be different for trying to get anything but D1 out there, so kids really see it more? And
so that's I mean, Tommy, let me grab this one.
You got it.
Right, because you're already a college coach. That's why I created my company, TAC College Recruitment. Actually, it is because in my mission is to help the 95% of the players that don't get recruited. Right. That's the whole mission of my company, is help the 95 that don't get recruited, because the other 5% are going to get recruited. They're going to have those conversations, but the 95% are still 95% of that team that's out there on the field, game in and game out. but they're just, for whatever reason, they're just not
Right.
getting that, having that conversation with college coaches. What at any level, it doesn't matter. I mean, Tommy and I, we talk about this all the time. We've been out to see these kids and they're a senior and it's like June. And I'm like, how in the hell did you get past the radar? Like, you don't have multiple offers? And she's like, no, you're the first person. We're like, how? You're right. And they play in California, they play in Las Vegas, they play in Phoenix. But at the end of the day, when these college showcases, there's only 30 to 40 college coaches, maybe. And there's 1,700 colleges.
Right.
Right. And so they don't have the budget to get out there and see all these kids. And so these 30 coaches aren't going to see that 800 kids on these fields, for 3 days in a row. They're just not going to see them. They see kids playing, but they
Right.
don't see anything, right? It's whatever jumps out at them. And we just had one of his friends on, and she's like, I may recruit one person from those college showcases. It's crazy, right? It's crazy.
Right.
So, that's why there are some other recruiting companies out there that are, they're definitely in it for the money and they're charging double what everybody else is charging and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not. I only specialize in baseball, softball. I don't do basketball, football, any of that stuff. It's just those two, because I want to give back. I want these kids to get an opportunity. I'm a college professor full time too. So my job academically is huge for me, because I want these kids to not just go somewhere and have an athletic experience, but I want them to have an academic experience, because they're going to be a professional when they're done playing. And that's going to happen. And so the rest of their life, they're going to have that profession. So I don't know if that answered it for you, but I mean, we're doing everything. That's why we did this podcast, so we can get this megaphone out to all these parents and just hear it from you guys. Why it's so important to do XYZ, right?
Right. Well, and I think too, it's the teams that are going to all these different showcases, or they're going to doing all this travel, it costs a lot more money. And there's super good players, or even normal people that just can't afford to be on those type of teams or doing that travel, which stinks, because that's where you feel like, you've got to, you got to be on one of those teams to get in front of coaches. But one thing too, I've learned even with like our Batbuster team, is you still really have to be the one specific Batbusters or Corona Angels or whoever to be on that particular field for the coaches to even be around there. So, and people don't understand that. And I've seen that in person with being at those, and it's like, wow. And even still, when you're at possibly that location, you still have to be that team, because then there's a game going on over on field 3 and there's no coaches over there. So it's just like, and there's only so many people on those teams, right? And like you said, and all the coaches, there's not 1,700 coaches out there. So it's so it's, and too, like kids would say, oh, I want to go to Florida or whatever. And I said, well, it's going to be pure luck if you're on a field and Florida's there watching and you're playing, and it's just everything has to align. Like, get to their camp, get in front of them to, have them see you, if that, or whatever, wherever it might be. But it's just being on the really big teams and doing all the travel to try to be seen is not realistic.
Well, and Tommy, we don't go to the field and go, hey, this special team is playing over here, let's go over there.
Right.
These kids have already reached out to Tommy. And so now he's scheduling his day to go see these kids that reached out to him. So they've done their homework, right? And it's one thing that I teach these kids, and a lot of, it's like buying a house for the first time. If you've never bought a house, you're in for a crazy experience, right? You're gonna make some big mistakes, and then whatever, you're gonna learn from that. Same thing with the college recruiting, and a lot of parents, they've never went to college before, right? They weren't athletes in college, so they don't know the process. So you do want to hire, to me anyway, you do want to hire somebody that's got your best interest, that has the connections, that can really give you, get you a coaching template that you're going to start sending out to all these coaches, right? They're going to give you professional advisement that's going to benefit you and your family, and the budget. because I'm big on budget. You know, there's
Right.
there's some D2s out there that are only $7,500 a year all in. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
Right. And so that's my job, is to really kind of educate these parents and say, hey, listen, that's great that you had Embry Riddle reach out to you, but it's 70 grand to go there a year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
have 70 grand? Right? You may
Right.
not.
Right.
So it's not going to be a good fit, but no other coaches are talking to me. So now you're putting your family's budget and their financial there's no way they can afford it, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So there's things that like I have on my website that literally they pick a state and it brings up all the teams that are in that state. It gives them the in-state tuition, the out-of-state tuition. It tells them, you know, it gives them the website, phone number. It gives them everything.
Mhm.
And that's my cheat sheet to them to kind of help find that school themselves.
Right.
Because they're not going to get those college coaches and talk to them at those tournaments. And like you said, mom and dad pay a lot of money for that.
Right.
Year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
So mom and dad need to step back a little bit and say, hey, okay, how can we afford this to where it's really going to benefit my athlete, and it's not going to, you know, cost them an arm and a leg and put their, you know, family in trouble.
Right.
But Tommy, you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean,
Tangent,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
in my opinion, it's a big topic. We could probably talk about this all day long. You know, for me, I think it's imperative for, you know, the high school level, the travel ball level, to have people around these athletes that are saying, listen, you have to be open to everything because you don't know everything.
Mhm.
And, you know, there's great coaches and great schools all across the board from JUCO all the way up to D1. Everybody's fit's going to be different. I've seen a lot of kids that bounce back after the first year because it wasn't a good fit for
Right.
one reason or another, because they didn't put the time in. They were just like, I'm going all this. This is all I'm going. And the coach says, like, they like me. That's where I'm going only. Versus going, how about I look at the whole picture? How about I look at the price? How about I look at the offer? How about I look at, am I a fit here?
The geography.
There's a bunch of pieces that I think in recruiting that you need to do, but there's not enough people out there giving that information out there.
Right.
You know, but like Tony said, the 95 percentile, I mean, I purposely put myself everywhere to give that opportunity, because like we've all talked today, sometimes it's pure luck.
Right.
I mean, Tony and I have recruited a player just off of pure luck. We walked by, weren't looking at that team, did not know the team. They did something, we were walking by and we were like, did you see that? And the next thing you know, we're over there talking to the player. That's pure luck. That wasn't meant to happen.
And I will say this too, is when we're there, we're like, do you have anybody else we should be looking at?
Yeah.
That's how the conversation starts.
Or what are you looking at, coach? And we'll tell them what we want. I mean, it's just, we don't go out and ask every team. We don't have time for that in the tournament. Right. There's no way, you know? Yeah. So, but I mean, to answer your question, BAnn, I think that people just have to be more open-minded about all divisions and where they really want to be and live for 4 years. Because I think that's also a big deal. I've seen kids go, hey, I don't want to be in Arizona anymore. I just don't want to live in this, you know, climate for 4 years of a sport. I want to go somewhere else. I just think that you have to kind of figure out where you want to land. And like you said, put yourself in front of those coaches. And it's okay to get a no. It's okay to get a no. I mean, right now, the trend is that I'm really noticing, which I don't really like, is I'm seeing a lot of kids committing early to a bunch of JUCOs, and then they wait until they get a big deal, then they bounce out, which I think is kind of shady to do. I really do. And I know that happens a lot on the West Coast. But again, like I said, I think
there's a lot of JUCOs on the West Coast.
There's a lot of JUCOs, right?
Especially in Washington.
And it's cheap, and I get it makes sense. But is it for everybody? No. Is it for a 4.0 student? Probably not.
Hell no.
You know, so again, like I said, it's just one of those things. Are you lining all the information up? Does your travel coach know everything? Are they going to a recruiting agency that the coach is connected to that's giving all the information? Because like, you know, especially in Arizona, there's coaches that will only talk to specific schools, and that's it. And that's just the way it is.
Right.
And that's hard, because if those kids don't know that, they just bought into that.
Right. And and all those kids aren't good enough for those schools, for those certain schools.
Happens all the time.
That's
B, did you say earlier that you're from Oregon?
Nope, I originally Colorado, but I went to high school here in Arizona. But
Okay.
my catcher
Was from
was the
Oregon.
Oregon
Oregon
coach.
coach right
Oh,
now.
Oregon
Yes.
coach. Oh.
Yeah.
Shit. There you go. There's another big
Hey,
stud.
there you go. Not listening again, bro. There you go. Not listening.
Hey, I'm old, man. Give me a little bit now. Come on now. But hey, the only reason why I really was bringing that up and kind of my segue was, I did play in the Northwest, and we only played 36, 35 games a year because of the rain. So we shortchanged ourselves because of the geographic part of the region, right?
Right.
And kids need to think about that because listen, you're short. I mean, 15 games is a lot.
Right.
It's
Especially nowadays.
a
Especially
ton,
nowadays.
right?
The
So
stats was so big.
you gotta look at everything,
Yeah.
And Tommy brought up another good point with the JUCO. If you're this happened to a close friend of ours, 4-point student, got the presidential scholarship, could have went anywhere academically, went to a JUCO, just pissed it away. I'm like, how do you do that?
They just don't
Bad
know.
advisement.
Yeah.
It's bad advisement, and that's why I'm like, I mean, I want to get on top of the roof and just scream and help as many people. I'm like you guys. I want to help as many people as I can. And there's no way I'm getting rich off it. I'm charging half what NCSA charges. And I even have monthly, memberships for these guys that they can't, especially if they're a senior. I don't want to charge them like NCSA charges $3,500 and they're a senior.
Right.
That doesn't do them any good.
Right.
I'm only charging them $100 a month. And and it can only be for 3 months. But
Yeah.
I don't care because I'm trying to get them somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So all that matters. You got to do your research. And
Yes.
anyway, it just pisses me off. I could talk about that all day. Tommy, you got one more question?
I do.
Thank you for the question, B. Thank you for the question, though. That was great.
That was a great question. Thank you. So obviously this is kind of a fun one for you, and I'm sure that you'll have something because I know enough about you. But why don't you give us your best story? Playing ball at UCLA,
or more than one.
Or more than one. I mean, you got a couple. Throw a couple out there.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say so. My basically, my recruiting. I was recruited by. It's funny because my recruiting trips. Again, then it's different. I think whatever they talk to you when they could in junior year or whatever. And I did my recruiting trips to UCLA, Arizona, ASU, and OU, which was funny because OU, the Jim Badia was helping coach then. I think the head coach was maybe sick, but it wasn't Patty Gasso. So it was before Patty Gasso, and I went on a recruiting trip there because I liked the coach. Then I went on the other trips. And when I went to U of A, I think U of A was my maybe the first trip, or maybe, I don't know. But the other girl, one of the girls on the trip, she committed the first day on the trip.
Oh, wow.
And I think they were trying to wanted me to commit. And I'm like, I don't want to go on my trips, and so my pitching coach is connected to U of A back growing up. He wasn't an official coach on the staff, but he was connected there. So everybody thought I was going to go to U of A. But then I did my trips and went to UCLA and loved it. It was different. And I think for me too, at that point, I thought, where could I see myself for 4 to 5 years? And I wanted to go to UCLA. So anyways, but Arizona during my time was better than us. So, they won their championships and their team was great. And we played them, I think it was my sophomore year at U of A. And again, we played double headers then. So I think I'm trying like a 12-2 game. Usually in Arizona, it would be maybe later, but first game usually I pitched and then another pitcher pitched the second game, and we lost 11-4. It was bad. They were like big time home run hitters, but then they slapped, and Arizona is known for their hard infield, for their slappers were
set it up,
hitting these huge pop-ups on a slap. So it's so they were super good. And so they beat us 11-4. And, then the next game, my coaches thought, oh, I guess we're going to let you pitch again. So I'm thinking, and they killed us. It wasn't like we had a bunch of errors. I mean, we could have probably had errors, but they beat me good. So they started me the next game and we won 2-0, which was crazy. What? So it was a big deal. And I try to tell kids you you have to forget what happened
Amnesia.
and move forward.
Amnesia.
'Cause that was like a super big deal. So,
Wow.
that's
a
my
great
favorite story, I guess, because you just, I mean, I'm thinking too, I think who I know then I'm probably thinking like, oh gosh, why am I going again? But what do I have to lose? So, and
Well,
it was great.
that I love that story because you know this game's so tough, as you know, especially hitting. You know,
Right.
it you know you could strike out 5 times and you get up for that last time at bat and you're gonna win the game with a knockoff, you know, double down the
Right.
gap or whatever. And then everybody forgets about those 4 or 5 strikeouts. You
Mhm.
know, just
Yeah.
like they beat the brakes off you the first game, right?
Right.
They said you said they handed it to you, and then you came back, same team,
And shut them out.
and shut them out,
Yeah.
right?
It's pretty crazy.
That's grit, that's determination, that's amnesia, and everything else, and just going out there and being a professional. And if anybody takes anything from what you just said right there, that is our game of softball and baseball. You
Mhm.
got to forget.
I mean, I
You gotta
cannot believe just the competitiveness it would take to do that. Because nowadays you don't really hear that happening where somebody would
Right.
throw back to back or something or any of that. You just don't ever really see it. Maybe an inning the
Right.
next game, but you don't see a
Right.
full. So just to hear that, these athletes and parents would be like, wow, what does it really take to do that?
That's what it takes.
Because you have to have some serious want to go
Right.
out there and fight again after just seeing what they just did hitting wise. To go back out there and be like, no, let's go.
Right.
I mean, it's a mindset. I mean, to me, that's just amazing, BAnn, to hear that. What a great story.
Yeah, you know, BAnn, it's funny because Tommy's had a pitcher that I know of that got lit up a little bit, and he's like, "You're going again," and she felt fine. She was great, and she all of a sudden having a breakdown, like, "I don't want to go again." We're just like, "What? Are you kidding me? These
This
guys
is your opportunity. This is your opportunity.
Yeah, like what? You know, and I'm just like, holy crap. I mean, she's just not ready.
Yeah.
Just not ready. And I'm just like, I don't know. Those are those times where you just gotta pull up your pants, pull up your boots, and let's get after it. You know, we're gonna fight now. It's war, right?
Right.
But for whatever reason, some of these kids nowadays, they just don't have it. I don't
Yeah.
know, because Tommy and I are built different. I mean, I have a tiger inside me that you know that wants to come out, and a lot of kids don't. My youngest son,
Old lion, get the old lion.
yeah, old lion, young lion. My youngest is a great kid, but he just, yeah, he had grit, he just and work ethic, but he didn't have when I get up to bat, I wanted to rip the pitcher's freaking head off, man. Shit was coming out of my mouth when I was up to bat. You know what I mean? I would, people are like, what the hell is he saying? And I'm like, I'm gonna eat their lunch. You know what I mean? He was the polar opposite of that. Total polar opposite. And so not everybody has it, right? Not everybody has it. And it's okay. It's okay, but you got to find it.
Mhm.
And like you just said, you found it and you went after it, right?
Right.
So I love that story. Any other story you got? Like World Series, like would you say 4 years in a row?
We went 4 years in a row.
Okay, how many people go to the World Series once in their career? You Tom Brady did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah. If that was it, but then they, like I said back then, we just were expected to go. So you didn't
Yeah.
even feel like it was that big of a deal because
Oh.
yeah, I mean, I know at that point, the same with all many years with Arizona, they went, and then when they didn't go, I mean, then it was like, it's like breaking news, you know, on the World Series for these teams that don't make it. But that's the pressure. That's again, like they'll always have it. UCLA and Arizona will always have.
Well, outside of Arizona, was there anybody that even contested a little bit? I mean, was Washington good at that point? Was there anybody good enough to really compete?
Oregon
at all?
Yeah, no.
UCLA, I mean,
Fresno State was in there. But those were, I mean, I can't even remember. I think every single year it was us two in the championship, except maybe my, I know my junior year, we didn't make it to the championship. That was the only World Series that was, it was in Georgia because they had it at the Olympic site for the 96 Olympics.
Oh, gotcha.
So, which was good for the sport. That one, we didn't make it to the end, but Washington was coming around then, but it wasn't, I mean, the top us and U of A were the top through that time. So, which was, I'm sure people got sick of it. I'm sure just like, you know, a lot of people want to see other teams other than Oklahoma in there.
Sure.
But, you know, they're a great team. So,
yeah. Was there any team outside of Arizona that just was tough for you as a pitcher to go against that you can think of?
Not compared to Arizona.
Nobody that you were just too concerned other than Arizona.
Yeah, pretty much that's it.
Bro, they were thunder and lightning. Are you kidding me?
No, I get it.
No one's
get
messing
it.
with thunder. And then they're gonna get lightning right after that. So it's over with.
Right. I mean, it's not like we didn't lose other teams, but that was the main. It was us back then. So
yeah. So Tom, you got the last question, bro.
And so I do have one more question for you. Of all the things that you've done in your career, what means the most to you? What stands out the most to you?
I think probably the induction to UCLA. That's pretty cool.
Big deal.
So,
that's huge deal.
So that was last year, and it's crazy to see. And I think besides the softball people in there, but just all the different athletes from UCLA that have gone before me was pretty amazing. So
wow.
I'm blessed to be in that company. So, and it still doesn't feel real, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. You know, I don't think, you know, just thinking back, just being around you guys, the times that I've been with you guys, you're not one to just come out and say, oh, I've done, and neither is John. But if you sit down and talk to these two individuals, you're like, holy Jesus, are you freaking kidding me right now? How do these two people accomplish so much and nobody knows
how humble
just a teacher or something? They have
so
no idea. And I want to market the hell out of you guys just because of that, right? But again, you're old school like I was. Right. I didn't talk out my mouth. Right. Yeah, I did it with my skill set.
Our dad wouldn't even let us if we even tried.
He would have choked the life out of us.
I try to instill that into my kids more. My son is to walk the walk, don't talk. Yeah, just walk the walk, and you're good. It's going to show. You don't need to talk. So I think
everybody else will talk about you because you're good.
And somebody must have said that to me. Not that I was ever like a hothead or, you know, but someone must have said it. But a compliment that I got when I was young was that people didn't know if I was winning 10-0 or losing 10-0 when I was pitching. So I try to you know, kids are up and down with pitching or I mean in general, but
what a big
the
deal
mental part is like such a big deal.
Yeah.
That's not showing emotion.
Right.
Tough, man.
Right.
Tough.
Yeah. And if you ever get it, that's funny because it drove. So when I started UCLA, Sue Enquist and Sharon Backus were the coaches, and Sharon and I were more alike, quieter, and you know, she didn't need to say anything. We just knew what we needed to do, and she didn't need to say anything. And that was kind of my personality. You know, you don't need to really tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. And Sue was more loud and stuff, and it drove her nuts. And that I didn't show any emotion at all. I mean, it was good on the mound, but then in general, she'd say, "How are you?" And I'm fine. And that was always the response. And so if you ever get her on here, you'll have to ask her about it because she'll laugh. But that was just my personality. And I think too, which is a little off the subject, is I think as coaches for like John, for instance, he basically coaches to the kid. And I think old school, it wasn't coaching to the kid. It was kind of like trying to go like one way. And he's really good with figuring out which works for different kids. And I think
absolutely
it's great for, you know, all the coaches out there who they have to, you know.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, BAnn, because something I want to add to this real quick before we get out of here is, you know, doesn't always happen at the upper divisions, D1, D2, where you can have a good connection because you just don't have the time, and coaches really can't have that. They don't have the opportunities to talk as much. And I think that's one reason why I've loved NAIA is that we're building connections, you know, and there's trust involved in that, right? And then when you can have that, people just can go farther, can do more when they have those, you know, comfortable, you know, things in their relationship in their game. And knowing the athlete, I think as a coach, that is a big deal. Like if I don't know how to coach each player, I'm never going to connect to them. I'm never going to get to them. I'm never going to be able to push them. Right. I have to know how to talk to each individual. And, I've had that 1,000 times where I talk to somebody one way and the other one, it's completely opposite.
Right.
And that's my job as the coach to figure out. And I get at the D1, D2 level, it's a lot tougher because you just don't have that time. Right. So I get how maybe it could be even back then to now, maybe a little one-sided, but I know that the coaching game's evolved for everybody. So they have to find a way to do it. So I'm glad that that was brought up. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you have anything for us? Any other questions or anything that you may want to say to parents or athletes who are, a sophomore or junior or senior, and their goal is to play softball somewhere? Meaning that there's no blurred lines, divisions, and all the other good stuff. Any good advice for them?
I think that as we've told our kids that they need to research some schools that in areas that they're interested in going and what programs they have for their degree, because like you said, it's life goes on after softball, and maybe there's the handful that'll play and they're hustling to play because it's just right at this point it's not enough money for someone to just have one job. So the degree is the most important thing. But finding schools, areas, looking at the size of schools, and if do you really want to go away to school, or do you want to be by your mom? It's just breaking all those things down. Trying your best not to be influenced by all the other parents out there on your old team that used to be on, and your team, and just because that I think gets to talking where people feel like, why aren't we doing this? And oh, I got to get Susie a batting coach because everyone has one or whatever. But I just feel like if there's that they need to kind of do their own thing and research the schools. If you're interested in find some schools, then get in front of them. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and I will say this, I always bring in the business world into this because it's a business, especially in college, right? Is that every athlete's got they have their own path. But I always say, and Tommy sort of says this a million times, but they're marketing themselves. And if you have two different players, there's two different companies, right? Two different marketing. So I may market differently because of my skill set than this person. So I can't maybe go to these colleges with these parents and these other athletes because it doesn't match my skill set, right? It's I'm not marketing that to them. So it doesn't do you any good, I don't think anyway, to waste your time with going and trying to follow your best friend because you want to go to school with them. When the odds are it's not going to happen anyway, right? So you got to find a school and you got to go to these college camps and stuff. And one of Tommy and I's biggest, well, especially Tommy, one of his biggest pet peeves is him talking to a new athlete, and he has a camp coming up in a month and a half or so, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm playing in this tournament," and he's like, "You're a senior." What?
Right.
Why aren't you coming to my college?
Right.
And anyway, it's so frustrating, right? So we're going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it until people finally say, listen, we need to hear these guys because that's me. It's affecting me. It's affecting my recruiting process. And I don't want them to give up on their dream because.
How about this? How about 7% of athletes from high school go up to college level? 7%. There's a lot that aren't going. There's a lot of good players that aren't going.
That's just to go.
That's just to go.
Play.
Yeah.
It's less than half down the diamond.
Yeah, we just put so much time, especially like I see how, the girls we've worked with for so many years, and there is a place that every single one of them could go to. And I think it's a matter if they believe it or not, or if they're, not everybody's trying to go to UCLA or whatever. Like there is a place for every single one of them. And it's sad when you see girls that are super good on some of these other teams that just stop playing. So it's just a bummer. And it's just such a, like I try to encourage too, go away somewhere. I mean, it's 4 years of your life, maybe 5.
You can be
and
selfish for 4 years.
experience it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just go experience it, because it's only, you can come home, you can come visit or whatever, but it goes by so fast
Sure does.
compared to the rest of your life. It's like, just go for it and don't come home, just go and stay there. So
And
Yeah, be selfish for 4 years.
Taylor's halfway there, right?
she this year is a redshirt sophomore.
Sophomore,
So
right?
Okay.
yeah,
So she's still got 3
she's,
years. She still has
Yep.
3 years. But
Yep.
if you ask her, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm already at this year in college, right? I mean, it's
Right.
going so fast.
right. Yeah. So and she'll give a good speech about, she was real homesick at the beginning, and most people go through that.
Yes.
So she'll let people know, but she said, I know she probably wanted to come home, and she, comes home and like in the summer and talks with our girls and said, I would have been so upset with myself if I would have quit and came home. So I really try like to tell people, just stay, like it's such a short time in your life. Have fun and
Yeah.
Be selfish.
play. Yeah.
This is when they can be selfish,
right.
right? It's their time.
4 years. 4 years to do what you need to do for 4 years.
Right.
Do you think Taylor would like to talk to Tommy and I want to talk to her before she kind of goes back, right?
Well, she already went back, but
Oh, she
Yeah,
is.
she's already back.
I mean,
Sure.
I don't know. I'd have to ask her. She's pretty quiet. But
I think she would want to talk. Maybe,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
I think she probably would.
There's a lot of athletes that are going to want to listen to her talk, just like
Yeah.
her talking to the kids, right? This
Mhm.
is her, to me, this is her give back,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, we'll be nice. Well, I'll be nice. I don't know about Tommy, but I'll be nice.
Yeah. No,
She's one of my favorites, man. I tried to
she'd have-
recruit her for a long time.
I know.
I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be Babe Ruth on your team.
Oh,
She'd
geez.
be hitting balls out of stadiums and domes.
I'd have to call the neighbors saying, hey, if the ball hits your house, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, listen, it was great to talk to you. You are awesome. Tommy and I knew that once you start going, this is just going to get crazy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
parents are going to absolutely, I think we've talked for, gosh, man, almost 2 hours, hour and 45.
Hour 40, yeah. Yeah.
Hour and a half.
John
actually.
did all the talking.
I know,
Yeah.
right? What happened, BAnn?
When John gets on,
I do talk a lot, but not when he's around.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
bring that up to him, I promise.
Yeah, when John gets on, we instead of asking 4 questions, we're gonna ask 1, and we're still gonna.
But hey, time's up now. We gotta go. It's fun.
He's like, well, you guys have other questions? Like, hell no, we just talked for 2 hours off of 1 question. But that's just because we're gonna go right back at it with him. But I cannot wait to have him on as well. It's gonna be awesome. But thank you again, everybody. Again,
was
2-time
awesome.
All-American stud, Hall of Famer, Arizona and UCLA. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And if parents, you're looking for a team, you guys got to call BAnn. Hey, BAnn, you want to give them an email, or you want to give somebody how they're going to get a hold of you guys to get on your teams?
They can contact you, and
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. No, they we have an Instagram, OC Batbuster Jacobs, and they can reach out there.
Okay.
Awesome.
And how many teams do you guys have right now?
We have our team that we've had. We're a second year 16s, and then we're looking to add a 16, 14, and a 12.
Good.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Exactly what you guys should be doing. Great job. Love
Yeah,
it.
you should fill them up very, very quickly, 100%. And we're gonna help you.
100%.
Yeah, especially me. I want to talk to you and John offline as well. Just to talk about some things, but
Okay.
I think there could be a good marriage there between us. We just have to have you guys over here. If John ever answers his phone, or
Right.
maybe on me.
You can't call John's phone.
Right.
It's
I
all
just gotta
about
talk
BAnn.
to you, BAnn.
You gotta talk to BAnn.
Even my wife's like, why? I'm like, because he won't get back to me. I'm like, dude, he's not going to. You gotta talk to BAnn.
Yeah, him and I, yeah.
I'm like, oh man, the whole time.
Back and forth, but yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah,
But-
he's a special guy. So
He is a special guy.
I'm gonna tell him
So is Tommy. So is
Yeah.
Tommy. What the hell?
Oh, him and I are tight. Him and I are tight.
Yeah.
If people only knew John, I mean, how would you ever leave this guy?
Out of work comedian. One of the funniest guys I
He
know.
is one of the funniest guys.
One of the funniest guys I know. Hands
Biggest
down.
heart. And
Yeah.
he looks good, by the way.
He looks
Yeah.
great.
Holy Jesus, man.
Wow. good job for him, man.
Yeah, I'm very happy for him. Tommy, you have anything else for BAnn? We're gonna close it up.
BAnn, you're awesome. I really appreciate you doing this. It's a big deal for all these athletes out there and these parents out there. They're trying to find their way because the recruiting process, as you know, is very hard. Right. It's very frustrating. It's very expensive, and you know, it's people are just not giving enough information. That's the reason why Tony and I started this. So thank you so much for doing this with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks again. You have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Thanks again. See ya.
Right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.